Down south, hunting is more than a pastime. It's a tradition. Whether you're tucked into a pine thicket for whitetail or chasing hogs through the bottoms, Nosler Ammo offers the kind of reliable, knockdown power that earns respect season after season. Trust the name that's built a reputation on performance. Trust Nosler.
Welcome to the Southern U Podcast, brought to you by Darden Archery on the OKest Podcast Network, with your co-host Matt Brock, Jeremy Ferguson, and Taylor McMurtry. If you're looking for all things land-related in the Southeast, you came to the right place. Whether it's real estate, habitat, wildlife, or just being outdoors, this is the place for you. Welcome to the Southern U.
Hey guys, welcome back
to
to another episode of the Southern U Podcast, where we talk all things land related. If this is your first time hanging out with us, that's what you'll hear about. Real estate, timber, hunting, farm, ag, all that good stuff. If you've been with us for a while, you kind of know the drill. We run through a few questions. We ask guys who are supposed to know what they're talking about. I don't know if they do or not. But we we ask a few questions, and once we get through with about, 4, 5, 6 questions, then we call it a day. But my name's Taylor McMurtry. I'm with Broadside Marketing. I'm 1/3 of the team here. I guess we can go right down the line on introductions, but I got a little surprise for you this time.
Uh-oh.
Welcome to the show, the man, the myth, the AL deer legend himself, Matt Brock.
There he is. Everybody give it up for the man.
Taylor, you just got a pay raise, brother.
No, he didn't. I'm not a fan.
Anything would be better than what I'm getting paid right now. So
if you'll notice, I changed my name on the screen.
I did not, actually. I didn't notice that. Oh, you did?
I noticed that.
Oh, man, he did.
We just got plain old Matt.
Yeah, plain old Matt. And I guess the other man in the party here.
Some call him a real estate broker. Some call him a wildlife biologist. Some simply refer to him as the Ferg. Welcome to the show, the real estate, cattle, and habitat aficionado, Jeremy Ferguson.
So,
Matt, what have we done getting him new toys?
Yep, y'all done got me a new board, and I got toys to play with. You never know.
The bad thing is we approved it.
Yeah. We'll pay for it in the long term because neither one of us know how to work it.
That's right. Oh, man. Well, guys, I guess first off, we'll just check in. How's the season been so far for you guys? Which, I mean, I say that. It's a rhetorical question. We know Matt's killed everything on earth, but I guess, how's Matt or Jeremy's been out guiding in Kansas and kind of got back Thanksgiving. Everything's kind of rolling along, and before we know it, we're going to be at Christmas, and Lord have mercy. It's just the season is just rolling right along.
Yeah, the year has flown by, and let me tell you, I don't know any of you guys or folks out there listening that's under 40. You better start enjoying life while you can, because it starts going in a hurry.
Yeah, it does.
It just I can't believe that we've made it from a deer season through a turkey season and back to a deer season. It feels like it was just yesterday. Matt and I were in, South Dakota, Nebraska chasing turkeys, and here we are halfway through deer season.
Yeah, the deer season's flying. It is going by really quickly.
I guess so. If you kill a deer everywhere you go.
Dude, I'm telling you, it's hard to believe that we were gearing up for going to South Texas this time last year.
Yeah.
That seems like that was yesterday, so crazy. But
and you know how many times I've sat in a tree stand? cents.
Well, you're also
0.
you're crippled though. That's different though. Yeah.
Well, yeah, look,
I'm crippled in more ways than one.
well, here we are at December the 3rd.
Mhm.
And if I remember correctly, I've been to the woods, including 2 states. I think I've been in the woods 16 sits.
And killed how many deer total?
I've killed 7, and Luke has killed 1.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so that's
thought-
8 out of 16. So that's a 50% success rate.
Yeah, I mean, it's
thought
been
that,
pretty good.
I thought that I was doing pretty good this year because considering I've only been to the woods, I think 5 times, and I've killed a couple does and a bobcat. Of course,
That's great.
I'm like, that's pretty efficient.
Yeah.
Just imagine if I actually went more. I mean,
Yeah. Well, they better look out. I ended up having to. I got to go over Matt's way for a final walkthrough on a farm I've got under contract tomorrow. So I'm gonna sneak off and get in the woods while I'm over that way.
I'm ready for you to get over here.
Pop a nanny at least.
That's right. Put a hurting on something. It's that time of year.
Something.
And speaking of that, the topic of discussion today, which I think is something that everybody, I think we've actually seen a few rumblings about it on Facebook and a few other platforms, but hunters talking about the dreaded here in the South. I know it's October for the Midwestern guys, but down here, the dreaded December lull. Talking about how deer movement slows down, you don't have as many sightings, not as many deer being brought to processors, all those sort of things during the month of December until you start to get closer to Christmas where the rut starts to kick up. Especially here in Alabama, the rut map is so crazy, it's so broken up. But just in general, the closer you get to late December, early January is when you start to see, more activity. But I think I just want to spend some time today and just talk about that specific topic. And there was a very popular show on, I believe it was Discovery Channel, back in the day when I was still in high school and all that kind of stuff that we can't mention here because we'll probably get in trouble. But they would take these myths, they would take different things that old wives' tales and things like that, and put them to the test with scientific data and prove that they were confirmed, that these things were actually true, or they were at least plausible. There was some element of truth in there, or that they were completely busted. And you can probably fill in the gaps there and figure out what show I'm talking about. But I want to kind of treat this episode like that a little bit and just see, is there any truth? I guess that could be our first question. Is there any legitimacy? Is there any truth to the term December lull? Do you see deer activity drop off, or is that merely just hunters not changing up and adapting to the circumstances?
Yes and yes.
yeah, absolutely. That's what I was going to say is, there's a decline in deer movement, but it's not generally why hunters think.
Right.
It's not that there's a lull in deer activity because deer aren't moving. Deer are still moving. They've just changed what they're doing, primarily because of human interactions at that point, this point in the season.
And this year is an unusual year for 2 reasons. One, we have so many acorns, it's hard to comprehend. We have good years, we have bad years, we have average years, but this year far exceeds anything that I've ever seen as far as acorn production, and it's all species and nearly every tree. So that is going to lead to a lot less deer movement and activity, or at least the perception of that. And then the first few weeks of our season, it was warm. Weather just wasn't that great. But all of the studies that have been conducted in several states have concluded that, deer activity and movement peaks, they're crepuscular. So they move within, an hour.
Sorry,
Tell that, Rob.
What did you call me?
Crepuscular. Anyway, they move within an hour or so of daylight, morning and evening. and then they'll move throughout the night. But where deer choose to spend their time changes through the season. It's not that they stop moving. This episode could go so many different
we could
directions.
talk for hours.
Oh my goodness, it could, because you're looking at deer behavior, hunter behavior. You're looking at nighttime movement, daytime movement, pressure, studies that show where deer are moving and when. And I mean, GPS collars have pretty much proven they move. They're moving. They're moving when you're hunting. They're just not moving where you're hunting. So I'm interested to see what questions you have for us today, Taylor.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's kind of where my mind goes when I hear people say, man, these deer just don't move during the month of December, or all the deer are nocturnal. They just don't move during the day. And I understand, because I've been in those situations before, especially hunting like Jackson County, Alabama, where you've got pretty extreme topography there. I mean, it's very different from much of just the state of Alabama in general. The terrain's pretty crazy. And so when you go hunting kind of bottoms and, hunting next to like water sources, like creeks, rivers, those sort of things, where it's flat as a pancake and you're not seeing anything, okay, well, maybe I need to change it up and start to hunt this topography, hunt some shelves or some benches, and there are all kind of terms for that, and you're still not seeing anything. And it's like, man, where are the deer? Like, where are they? They have to, they can't just stop moving around. They got to eat, they've got to get up and move around. And so if they're not where I've been, then where are they? And I guess that's, like you said, hey, GPS collars prove they move. Like, okay, they do, but when and where is the question,
And I think that's going to be a different answer for everybody. It's going to be dependent upon the human activities on the property. It's going to be dependent upon the food sources. It's going to be dependent upon, I don't want to say just topography, but the type land base that you're hunting. You mentioned Jackson County. Well, that's still Cumberland Plateau.
It is.
The closest thing you can compare that to for us is like the big woods in PA. I mean, it's just huge expanses of closed canopy hardwood. Are there a lot of deer in Jackson County? Yeah,
absolutely.
But in the springtime, they congregate in the valleys around the crops. I mean, we've owned farms up there. My family's from Jackson County, leased ground. In the springtime, we would have on property that we used to hunt. It was 1,400 acres. We would have anywhere from 30 to 40 individual bucks that we could identify in a spring in the crop fields. When the acorns started dropping, we would hold on to a couple. Those deer, when the acorns scatter up there in what I call the big woods, man, they spread out across thousands and thousands of acres. So the deer density is not very high. So you've got to work to find deer up there. Mm-hmm. But it also, going back to human pressure, one of the things that we run into a lot is folks don't paying attention to what their ingress egress is. They just bust out and go hunting. They're not paying. They might moderately pay attention to the wind or moderately pay attention to their scent, but not like they should. And I think we talked about on the episode that Matt caught a lot of flack for. But in reality, we just talked about, he's been in the woods 16 times and they've killed 8 deer. The success speaks for itself. If you go during the wrong conditions for that stand, chances are you're not going to be successful.
Yeah. And look, you're right. And going back to that clip, that short clip came off as being very arrogant. That was not my intent by any stretch.
Well, it was a long clip.
It was a long clip, and that was just a piece of that clip. And my point was that whether you're a meat hunter, a trophy hunter, or don't give a flip, people who consistently kill things when they go to the woods pay attention to certain variables. I got accused of not knowing Jesus, needing the Lord, hunting for the wrong reasons, all these different things. I mean, just trophy hunter, using cell cameras, all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, y'all don't even know who I am, and none of that's true. But, people who consistently kill deer, regardless of the type, quality, age, trophy status, they pay attention to things that people who don't kill deer don't pay attention to.
Exactly.
And that's not arrogance. That's a fact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and also too, what I would add to that is, like, we've all been there where, like, you're in camp with 3 or 4 or 5 of your buddies. You're all hunting together, and maybe you're there for a weekend, maybe you're there for 3, 4 days, whatever it is, and you're all hunting together. And it just seems like there's that one guy that just, like, for whatever reason, they just have a sixth sense. Like, deer just don't seem to smell them, like whatever it is, but they always end up killing something when everybody else don't. And it's like, that's not blind luck. That guy he's figured something out. You know what I mean? And that's the deal. Like, oh yeah, let's see you do that on public land. Well, that's not what this podcast is about, if you've listened to us for any length of time. But the other thing is, like, it's no bearing, has no difference. Like, it's, woodsmanship is woodsmanship, and being able to figure this stuff out and have experience goes a long way no matter where you hunt. And so that was my only thing that I was kind of hoping people would be able to see from that clip is it's not a puff out my chest and, prance around and look at what all I've done. It's just like, the fact is, people that are consistently putting deer of any caliber on the ground have got some element of this thing figured out. They have, right. And it's come from years and years of experience in the woods. And so that's all, only thing I wanted to say on that front. But
well, a perfect example, and y'all know I don't consume a whole heck of a lot of media when it comes to hunting shows or anything like that. But my nephew Colby was talking about an episode of Hunting Public. And he showed it to me, and I can't remember the guy, one of the main guys with beard, Aaron something. But he was hanging pretty low in the tree and had a stud buck trying to come through. And deer looks up at him and spots him. But they had obviously scouted this place and knew this place that they were hunting based off of the way he was talking. And that deer wanted to go right where he was at. So bad so that deer attempted to come through there, I think 3 times, and looked up and saw him all 3 times. That's woodsmanship. That's figuring things out. He knew where to pinch that deer. Now, he didn't necessarily know that deer was coming right there, but he knew that deer pinch right there. And that don't just come from blindly going sitting in the shooting house or blindly sitting up in a tree.
No.
For sure. Well, kind of jumping back on this December lull thing here. So we've determined, based on what you guys are saying, that studies have concluded, GPS collars, these guys that have done expansive research on this topic, have said, hey, look, your deer are still moving. And, they don't just lay down and not move. They're still moving around. They're not 100% nocturnal. Those sort of things. So let's talk about food, because that's something that Matt mentioned earlier. Like, this year in particular, bumper acorn crop. Like, across I would probably say across the Southeast, certainly across this whole state of Alabama.
Well, look, so stop just for a second. Almost every single Southeastern state and most of the Midwestern states that have oak trees are reporting considerable drops in harvest this year. All of them across the board.
Really?
Yeah. Even in Kansas, where we were hunting up there, the acorns just were.
Did you say acorn?
I probably did.
That's not allowed.
I'm sorry, acorns. They were absolutely everywhere. We don't have a lot of places that's got acorns, but where we do have them, they were loaded up.
When you go back to Kansas, you're allowed to say acorn, but down here, nah.
Get it right.
Yeah, people up there look at me like they didn't know what word I was saying, so I probably got that right.
Should I listen to this guy that keeps calling acorns? I feel like
and hey, by the way, I don't think I told y'all. We keep a lot of what we have up there pretty private, just because what it is. But those 2 deer that I had on camera last year, the 2 giants, we had somebody come in and lease a little bit small tract beside us. A guy that's in the real estate business moved up there and least little piece beside us, and killed both of those deer. He killed one, his wife killed one.
God.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. The big one scored 228, and the smaller one was right under 200 inches.
That's two
Gosh.
giants.
Gigantic, dude.
Off same farm.
Mm.
Sport, as they'd say.
Oh yeah, yeah. But that goes back to if you live in an area that's got good deer, you can kill good deer.
That is a fact. No
I'm pointing at Matt.
Yeah, right there. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah. So, but yeah, it's kind of going back to the food sources deal. Like, I was even surprised down here because I've seen the acorns down here where I'm hunting too. Like, this is nuts. I don't know why I'm doing this, other than someone on the this particular permission property that I've got to hunt had a lot of trail camera pictures of just kind of a group of does coming in on this food plot. Now, my instinct was like, there are so many acorns. Why in the world would a deer come out on these, on a food plot right now? Like, they don't have to. They could just stay in here and eat acorns and be fine. But I have sat that particular tree twice, and I've killed a doe both times off of a food plot.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, you guys are saying, hey, they're reporting low numbers of harvest. Every state, southeastern state is saying, hey, we're not bringing in as many deer. For the month of December, this kind of stuff traditionally, are you putting more of an emphasis on like a food plot, or are you saying, hey, there's bumper crop of acorns everywhere, you need to get your butt in the woods because that's where they're at? Like, what would be your gut reaction when it comes to a food source for this time of year?
Can I answer that?
Sure.
All right. So traditionally, huh?
I said, can you?
In an average year, let me give you what I try to do. Start from the beginning of the season, moving forward into that December lull period. I focus on nothing but acorns if they're available in October. And I prefer to stay on acorns in early November. In years where we actually have decent food plots by early to mid-November, I will hunt those, but I prefer to have them in close proximity to thick cover, or have oaks that are dropping acorns along the perimeter. So you kind of get 2 for 1 there.
For sure, yeah.
As we approach December, there's been more people in the woods, and deer have adapted the way that they're moving a little bit to avoid, that pressure. I'll go a little deeper away from the fields. I may still be in proximity of the field where I can see the field, but a lot of deer will walk around the edge at 50, 75 to 100 yards, and they're scent checking things before they walk out. So you're likely to catch a buck doing that rather than sitting on the field itself. He's going to come out in the field at 5:30 after sunset, or after it's dark. But you may catch him on the edge of the field earlier than that, and then this December lull, our rut really starts kicking off around December the 18th to the 20th, and it's pretty wide open.
Now, when you say yours, you're talking about your neck of the woods, not
yes,
okay.
West Alabama, most of North Alabama, with pockets of other rut timings, but usually Christmas to New Year's is pretty hot. That's what I would consider to be, in a lot of places, the lockdown like you see in the Midwest. It's not as prevalent. You don't see it as often here because we have such a skewed sex ratio of bucks to does. Well, cut that out. What we got going on? All right. So, I would say that bucks are starting to bust up out of their bachelor groups right now. We're at December the 3rd. So deer are starting to separate. They're starting to get their winter range where they're going to spend the majority of the winter during the rut. And they're just not moving around in as openly in daylight hours. So you just kind of have to shift more to thick cover. And typically, and I hate the rut. I will be the first to admit, that was another thing people said on there.
Hold up. Wait.
What?
Hold on.
Hot take. I repeat, we have a hot take alert.
Sorry. Matt just said he hates the rut. Sounds like a hot take, so let's go.
Yeah, I don't like the rut at all, and I kill very few mature bucks in the rut. Typically because, if I know a deer's in an area, I usually try to kill a specific deer or two a season. I think that killing a specific deer that you're after is so incredibly difficult during the rut.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to kill him before the rut, because during rut, somebody else is going to kill that deer.
Yeah.
Well,
he's
I guess
gonna
he just becomes so much less predictable.
Yes, and he's going to break away from his typical pattern,
Mhm.
and he's going to go get shot somewhere else.
He's going to follow that sweet, sweet aroma wherever.
Yeah. Yes. So, I'm not a big fan of hunting the rut. I don't kill. I've killed some deer in the rut. Don't get me wrong. I've killed some great deer in the rut, but it's not my go-to time of the year. I'll take the first 4 weeks of bow season over anything else.
Amen. Preached.
And yeah, so, that's kind of how I would define, you kind of hunt without penetrating too deep into the woods or your hunting area early in the season. And then the closer you get to the rut, you kind of go a little bit deeper. And during the rut, when I have been successful, I'm not hunting open areas. I'm hunting stuff as thick as I can get in, trails and thickets, creek crossings.
And one thing about that, I mean, the number of people that are in the woods during the rut probably triples or quadruples, may even be more than that. I know around us where we hunt, it's just kind of trickle effect that you see a few trucks parked, a few guys in the woods here and there during bow season. It'll slightly pick up, but when the rut comes, every gate there's trucks.
Mm-hmm.
And, look, those deer are going to follow that smell, or those bucks are, but you gotta think about where the does are going to go. Does are going to go deep because they feel the pressure, the human pressure, as much as anything else, any other deer. So
yes, and on that, so the bucks that I do kill in the rut, I'd say over 90% of them are, so let me back up. So in the rut, you have a flood of hunters hunting over their corn piles, hunting over their food plots, and they're going to see deer. They're going to see plenty of deer, and they're going to see cruising bucks. A lot of those bucks are 1 to 3 years of age. That's not what I'm after. If they want to kill those, that's fine. That's just not what I'm hunting. Typically, when I kill a buck in the rut, I kill it in extremely thick cover on a doe, not chasing, they're with her. They're tending her, they're breeding her, they're in close proximity, not letting her leave their side. And I think that's the difference between mature bucks and middle-aged bucks is you got a lot of middle-aged bucks out there on the landscape going nuts and running around all over the place, and they're highly visible in open areas. And your mature bucks, guess what? They're not. They're in the thickets breeding does. So that's where you need to be. And that's what I've always focused on and have been, pretty successful killing big deer that way.
So I guess circling back to the food thing, you said I want to focus on acorns really as long as I can until
yes.
But I guess the influx of, do you think the lull is more? It is more of a byproduct of an increase of hunters in the woods than it is anything else.
Yes,
absolutely,
no question. I mean, if you've got a large enough land holding that's unpressured, you're going to see these 4, 5, 6-year-old bucks pushing and chasing those out in the middle of 5, 6 acre food plots.
Yeah,
they're not pressured. They're going to act like deer would act, where they're not scared to death every tree they walk around.
A lot of Alabama is broken into such small parcels, though. You have a lot of pressured areas, and that's why those deer go to thick places. I mean, just this past week. So, I mean, we're November 26th and November the 30th. We're still 1 month out from the rut, and my son and I both killed a 7-year-old and a 5-year-old buck in a food plot in broad daylight.
Mm-hmm.
I would not have guessed that. I mean, I generally take my kids to food plots to hunt in the afternoon just because it's convenient. It's easy for us to get in and out. If we make a little noise, that's fine. We're covered up in a shooting house or whatever. But we still killed good deer. I mean, it can, but we have a very limited amount of pressure where we're hunting. Mature deer will walk out in food plots just like any other deer on low pressured areas.
Mm-hmm.
And they look, food plots are great places to kill deer. We've killed a lot of really good deer on food plots, and that's my second food source of choice. Acorns and then food plots in the early season.
And I'm gonna throw you another little hot take here, Tay.
Oh, hold up.
Hot take. I repeat, we have a hot take alert.
We get all these folks that say, "Come try that on public land."
Mm-hmm.
I would venture to say, especially in Alabama, now I haven't hunted tons of public land everywhere, but I've hunted public land in Georgia, Tennessee, and Mississippi, so our bordering states, except Florida. And private lease ground is much, much more pressured than public ground. People argue with me all they want. There's a lot more people per 100 acres out there on private land than there are public land.
100%.
And it's not close.
No, it's not even remotely close. And if you start looking at some of the leases, the way we do leases in the South, you may have several hundred acres with 10, 15, 20 members and their families. On a weekend or a holiday, there's more pressure on that private ground than there is anything public.
Yep.
Well, I mean, that's kind of changed my perspective a little bit on the Midwestern stuff that I've been able to do, because like in my mind, I'm like, there's no cover for these deer. Like, I understand that they only, up in the Midwest, like they can only use what's there. And if there's not a whole lot there, that's just what they got to use. They don't have a choice. But because of the land ownership, and these parcels being so large, like Matt said earlier, in Alabama, you've got, in 1 square mile, you may have 150 landowners, you know what I mean, or more. And so that translates to a lot more people potentially on the landscape hunting, where you might have a place in, the Midwest where the average, ownership is 300, 400, 500 acres or more. And if only 1 or 2 people hunt those farms, well, that's a lot less pressure, even though they have less cover. Yeah. So it's like, you know what I mean? It just, I don't know. When you start to put those things in perspective, it's like, okay, I can kind of rationalize, make sense of this stuff now.
Yeah, but now you mentioned the Midwest. Now I almost can, especially during the rut, to these decent quality public land places in the Midwest. Now a lot of states have gone to draw systems so that they can cut down on numbers. But years ago, when we were going to Kentucky at first, when we were hunting up there, it was a draw, and then they went to a few years to where it was just come one, come all. We quit going. There were so many deep south tags parked and people out there that the hunting pressure had increased so much because it was just a free for all. That at that point, that public land was pressured to death. And luckily, Kentucky was smart enough to go back and change that, put it back on a lottery or a preference point draw system. Mm-hmm. But, down here, and I don't quite understand the stigma to that. People talk about the Orange Army showing up. And, there's a few WMAs that get a lot of pressure. But by and large, it's not like there's a hunter out there every 100 acres. And you go to a lot of these leases, and they base their membership on, acres per person. And a lot of them are below 100 acres per person.
Yeah, most which is way too many.
Yes, and I was going to say.
Yeah, it needs to be one per. Personally, I would like one per 500 acres plus. But, I'm willing to pay for that. A lot of people aren't.
Right, and I was going to say, if you get in some of these clubs here in the South, I get it. You've got to pay the lease. Like, you've got to figure out a way to come up with that money to pay for this land to be able to hunt it. So the more people equals more money, all that kind of stuff. But, man, when you get into that kind of stuff where you're sub 100, hunter per 100 acres, that makes me nervous. Like, it's like,
terrible.
Yeah,
if you look, most people are willing to, the reason they're paying a lease is they want at least a chance to kill a good deer, a mature deer. And if you look across the landscape, just in general habitat, average habitat conditions, you're looking at, just the production or being on the landscape, a mature deer per 250 to 350 acres, and yet you have 100 per 100 acres. That math does not add up.
Yeah.
No.
And if everybody paying a lease has the expectation that I'm going to get to kill a mature deer today or this year, no, you're really not, because there's not that many of them on the landscape.
Mm-hmm.
Even on the best managed properties that we have, you're looking at a mature buck per 150 acres. And I'm talking about the absolute best.
Good ones. Yep.
And that's rare. That's very rare. So a buck per 3 to 350 is more in line with average. And you've got some areas like you were talking about where you've got, multiple dozen landowners per square mile. They may only have a mature buck per 1,000 or 1,500 acres.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And everybody's hunting that deer. Everybody. There's
yes.
40 different people that have pictures of one buck, and everybody's trying to kill him.
Yep.
Yeah.
No,
and every one of those people has got a feeder set up in their backyard.
Yeah.
Now.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and I would, the only thing that I would say it's any different of that for me personally is, don't get me wrong, I would be tickled to death to shoot a 4+ year old buck, but I know the odds of me taking a bow in the woods from start to finish of the season, odds of that happens relatively low. So when I get in a lease, it's like I just don't want to have to fight everybody and their brother to just have a place to hunt that isn't hunted to death, or I don't have to get there at 2 hours before daylight, and then try to get out there and pray that somebody doesn't come walking in on me an hour after daylight. Just like, it's just the peace of mind of going like, I don't have to worry about that. If there's a big deer that comes strolling out here, then that's icing on the cake for me. It's more about like, on that last episode we did with Robbie, we're talking about how hunting is, at the end of the day, this stuff is supposed to be fun. We're supposed to enjoy it. I've got enough stress at work. I've got enough stress at home. Like, I don't need another thing to stress me out.
Yeah.
So I'm more interested in like, this is what I'm doing to go relax, and I don't have to worry about somebody else walking all over me or having to get up crazy early and do crazy things just to go get in the woods and have fun. So I realize we'll probably get some hate comments from that. Like, yeah, you just don't want to earn it, boy. You just want easy. Like,
look, if social media has taught me anything, it don't matter what you say, there's always going to be somebody that hates it. And I mean like pure hatred. It blows my mind, some of the comments that we've gotten on Facebook. I just don't know how you can wake up with that much bitterness that you have to comment on somebody's reel in a negative manner every single chance you get. I don't get it. But anyway.
Oh, I know. It's funny too. That's what I told my wife the other day. I'm like, social media has made it okay to say anything and everything you want to say to someone with no consequences. There's no risk of you getting punched in the face, so you just say whatever you want. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But anyways, so we've talked about food sources. We've kind of talked about hunter pressure and those sort of things. In certain parts of the state, I know it's very broken up in Alabama, and even if you start going towards Georgia, the rut gets earlier. Is there an element of this December lull that could be post-rut, where these deer have already gone through peak breeding season and now things are sort of winding down? I realize that's not the majority, but is there an element of that where like, hey, these deer are just trying to recover? Like, they are run down, wore out, deer density is way too high, and these bucks have been running themselves ragged, and now they're just trying to recover. Is there any legitimacy to that?
I've seen the opposite. I mean, given where we hunt, we don't get to see a lot of the post-rut behaviors during deer season. But what I do see is that after that peak rut, and then you have your secondary rut, during that recovery phase, deer are highly susceptible to food, high quality food.
Yeah.
And they're getting smoked. So, I don't think there's a lull after the peak of breeding, at least from what I've seen. But I mean, Jeremy, you may have. I don't hunt in a lot of places where there's an early rut, so.
No, I track what you're saying and agree with it. Like, I wish that I spent more time hunting post rut in the Midwest, because they are food driven.
Mm-hmm.
If your target buck survives the rut, now, and he may be hard to kill still, but he's gonna be coming to a food source. I mean, make no no doubt about it. He's coming. He's going to try to replenish, and we're no different. Those deer are going to be food motivated. They're going to try to pick that body weight back up to get through the remainder of the stress period of late winter, when food's going to be, at its shortest. So I don't put any, I guess, any credence to it being the lull because of post rut.
Gotcha.
I mean, it's just opinion, but
Yeah, well, I mean, I just like I said, I know that would be the minority. Most places in the South, the rut hasn't kicked up yet.
yeah,
But in some places, it's possible, I guess. Especially as you get closer to Georgia and even parts of Tennessee. I know there are parts of Tennessee that it's more of a mid-November, late November, top rut
Yeah.
there too. And so just
well,
curious.
one thing that we've got to keep in mind that we even left out of the food, we mentioned it tongue in cheek, but the sheer tonnage of corn that is on the ground, especially in Alabama, all season long. People want to talk about nocturnal deer. Well, they're not nocturnal; they're still moving. But when deer can visit feed sites and fill up and go 100 yards and lay down, and they've been pressured all season long, then they're going to change their movement patterns, and some of that will go back to your corn piles too. If they can go easily fill up on a carbohydrate and lay back down an hour before dark, you're making things tougher on yourself.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah, well, like I know, you'll hear people say that all the time. It's like, man, I'm just not seeing any deer while I'm on stand. I'm not getting any deer on camera until dark. It's like these deer must be nocturnal. And I've talked with several people over the years, and it's like explaining to somebody, okay, if you're getting deer, like what time are they showing up on your camera? Well, right after dark, like 5:45, 5:30, 5:35. Okay, do you think that deer is half a mile away at
No.
sunset? No, man, that deer is close. Now they may be waiting until they feel comfortable, under the cover of darkness to come in there and eat, but they're not half a mile away from you.
No.
They're close.
Yeah, in the South, I would, especially on our landscape, quarter mile, would be right in the wheelhouse. You're looking at if you're talking a quarter, that's not very far. Okay, talking about walking across 40-acre block.
Yep.
So that's not very far.
No, and look, I'm going to share this, and it's something I can't really explain. It doesn't make any sense to me, but it's what I've observed over the last week. So, I hunted the week of Thanksgiving from Tuesday through Monday. So, from before Thanksgiving all through Thanksgiving weekend until Monday. And during that time frame, I saw 65 deer, and I say individual deer. Some of them were, there was a few that were the same deer seen from different stand locations. But let's just say 65 deer. 51 of those were bucks. Out of the 65 total, do you know how many of those walked in front of one of my cameras while we were hunting during daylight hours?
I hope you say 2 or 3.
Yeah, 4.
It's 8.
8.
So if I went strictly based off what walked in front of my camera, I would say these deer are not moving very well this week, or these deer are only nocturnal. But guess what? I wasn't just hunting where I could see my camera. I was hunting in the vicinity of the camera and seeing plenty of deer, but they were not showing up on my camera until right at dark or right after. Now, after dark, my cameras were full of deer.
It's funny you mentioned that. We employed a little different strategy with cameras in Kansas this year, just tinkering, and we put some just in the open field because Midwest, a lot of it's inside corners, field edges, whatnot, trying to catch cruising bucks. But we would set cameras up facing different directions, all within a 30-yard area.
Mm-hmm.
And the number of different deer that we got was astounding, that weren't picked up on the other cameras. just in one location where a couple of mine were hanging. I had pictures of several different bucks, but as far as mature bucks go, I had three different mature bucks on camera. The other cameras hanging still within bow range. Picked up six other bucks that my cameras didn't pick up. Six different mature bucks.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so just this past week, I took one of my cameras and I moved it 10 feet from one tree to another tree, but I faced a different orientation. It was facing kind of northeast, and I faced it southwest on a different tree. And the northeast position was facing two large red oaks that were dropping acorns. And I did have some corn scattered out there too, to try to get them stopped long enough to get good pictures. Had one mature buck on that camera in the last 3 to 4 weeks. I turned it around, put it on a clover field, and just last night alone, I got 4 mature bucks. 3 of those deer have never been on the camera, ever, facing the other direction 10 feet away.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard of people even taking their like 2 cameras, put them on the same tree. You know, they tell you always to not ever do east and west because the sun, blinds them.
Yeah.
So do them north and south, and just have it's on the same tree. They're just facing opposite directions, and you get completely different, different deer. And if you had only had one, facing the opposite direction or something like that, you only had one camera, you'd go, man, there's not any deer here, whatever. But it's an interesting observation, I guess, to say the least. And I think it just goes to show that just because you don't have deer on camera doesn't mean they aren't there, and doesn't mean that spot is not worth hunting. I think we've talked about it a lot, where we just feel like we've become so enslaved to trail cameras. And it's like, well, it may even determine whether you hunt at all or not. Not just if you hunt a different spot. It's just like, I've got 3 or 4 cameras out. I'm not getting anything on camera. I'm just not going to go.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I'm strongly considering pulling cameras all together next year, running them preseason to know what's out there, and then just pulling cameras and hunting like I used to. Because I mean, look, they do aid. They're a tool just like anything else. But kind of like you, if you're not getting anything on camera, you kind of get discouraged.
Yeah, you fall in that trap.
Yep.
And I'm the same way. But how many times, and I can't point out a camera manufacturer because I've got several different brands, and it's happened on all of them, where I've been sitting watching deer walk in front of the camera, and that deer not be
on it.
Not be on it. And you're like, what the heck? What happened? Did it just, or did it not take a picture? What's going on?
And I've noticed it even when the deer were in front of the camera longer than the duration it takes to go from picture to picture. Like if you have a 1 minute delay or 5 minute delay between shots, the deer may be there 10 minutes with a 1 minute delay and not get a single picture.
Yeah.
For sure. I guess this might be a little bit of a stretch for you guys because you don't ever have any notice of what we're going to discuss and questions and all that kind of stuff before we get rolling. But you guys have mentioned before, like different data, different research. Is there anything you might encourage hunters out there in the South, any studies that you know of specifically to like go and check out? Hey, read up on this stuff. Check out this study that maybe like Mississippi State did or whoever, that would kind of back up some of the stuff that we're talking about here.
There are, and Matt keeps up with it more than I do. But I want to throw this out there first, and it's just a product of where we are now after COVID. The distrust in scientific data and government is just completely unbelievable.
Yeah.
Now, look, do they have a right to distrust? Absolutely. I distrust a lot as well. But when it comes to deer research, what is there to gain off of being able to prove movement patterns or disprove movement patterns or the way cameras work? But the number of people that I interact with, whether it be on social media, phone calls, in person, that they're like, well, I just don't believe that research. Okay. Why? what did that person have to gain out of putting research out about deer movement after hunters enter the woods? We've
I think
gone so far down this path of distrust in the scientific community that I don't know that we'll ever recover. And more of it's around CWD,
that's what I was
but
going to say.
but it's bled into all the other.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, people think that, and especially regarding CWD, and I know it's a different topic. We won't spend a lot of time there, but people think if I can prove there is some negative impact here, then I will get more money. I'm going to get more money for research. I'm going to get more money for whatever. And if that's going on, then they feel like there's, ulterior motives for that research. So, I guess maybe that they think that bleeds over into other things or other parts of other studies, other research being done.
Well, look,
Maybe
I don't know how many people have ever been to a research conference. When it comes to deer, the deer study group meeting is, the foremost deer experts on the planet, also disease experts and all that, researchers. And, I've missed two of those since 2001. So I've been to 23. And I don't think I've ever sat through a talk or a presentation on research that at the end of it, that there wasn't a statement on a slide and that particular researcher state, but more research is needed. Look, yes, they are making a living doing research and teaching, but there's always answers to questions that we don't know. And there's so many out there that we don't know about CWD that I don't know by the end of our career that we'll answer those questions.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know.
Matt, I know you were going to say something and got interrupted, I think.
Well, I was just going to say, in regards to, which specific area were you asking if there was research? Because there's research on all of it.
Right, sure. Just like deer movement, GPS track, those type of things where they maybe captured deer and put GPS collars on them, something like that to kind of show that regardless of, the time of year, regardless of,
Yeah.
That we can kind of back up what you guys are saying.
Well, I know MSU, LSU, there was one that just recently came out of Arkansas. I don't know what university it was that did it, but they put collars on deer for various reasons to detect, movements during the rut, yearling dispersal, pressure.
Auburn's done a couple as well. They did one here in Alabama, and I believe they collared deer at Brosnan Forest, if I remember, up in South Carolina.
Yeah. So there's been a lot of different studies that give us an insight on deer behavior, movement at various times of the year and various ages too. And, other than yearling buck dispersal, I don't think there were any substantial differences in home range sizes per age class from what I've seen. Individual deer, absolutely. That's why I don't like averages when it comes to home range sizes.
You never know.
Because you never know. Some deer move a lot and some deer don't, and it's an individual characteristic to that specific deer. I mean, yeah, you can say, average home range size is 600 to 900 acres. Well, the range may be from 150 all the way up to 6,000, depending on the individual deer. So, as far as yearling buck dispersal, Arkansas, they said the average yearling buck will travel 11 miles from where it was born to where it decides to call a new home range. Bucks shifting their patterns and behaviors based off hunters. When hunters hit the woods, they spend a lot more time bedding down in thick cover. They do move during daylight. And that's what I tell, you made a comment just a few minutes ago, Taylor, about people complaining about having a lot of nighttime activity on their cameras. Deer are not strictly nocturnal. They're moving somewhere in daylight. And as the hunter, it is up to you to figure that out. And my best solution to that is if you have the flexibility and the control over property to create areas where you have good quality bedding and food in very close proximity to each other, you'll be a more successful hunter. If you don't have the ability to manipulate the habitat, you need to get to thick cover. Deer are moving in daylight in thick cover all day long.
And I think that's probably a big issue here, especially in the deep south, where most of the acreage is either that's leased out as industrial timberland, where you've got no control over the land base, and you hear a lot of griping and moaning about nocturnal deer. They can't make any adjustments to the habitat by and large. I mean, they might can do a few fields, they might can do some minor things on roadsides and edges and things like that, but they're not going to be able to burn. They're not going to be able to do any type of true habitat manipulation.
Yep.
Right. No, I mean, I agree. I will say this too, because I'm the only one on this podcast who is not a biologist and doesn't have that experience. But what experience I do have, my college background is, I was very research oriented, very research heavy in my degree plan. And I don't know if the reason I'm talking about this, I don't know if the average person, the average hunter, understands what has to take place in order to conduct and publish research.
Absolutely not.
It is very, very difficult to do, especially to do it right.
And it's not a knock on them.
No, not at all.
We're not knocking anybody. We're not saying you're not smart enough to do it. It's just not something they've done.
Well, like, let's just take the financial aspect out of this equation for a minute. Like, my degree plan, it required you, if you graduate, like, if you get this degree, you will know how to conduct and publish your research and your findings. And to do so without plagiarizing, like to do things the right way. And I'm telling you, to do things by the book, to just the organizational aspect of that, to make sure you are organized and everything is done in the correct manner, and then you're able to then take these findings and then publish them in a way that people can actually consume it and digest it and understand it, is hard. Like, it's not an easy thing to do. Yeah. And then, oh, by the way, if we're going to do this, we're going to need money. It's like, we got to have some dollars and I got an inside look to that when we did go to Texas, and you saw what took place. I mean, you're talking about lining up guys with a helicopter and net gunners and cowboys that can go and wrangle these deer, and put hobbles on them, bring them to a research team, and then let them do their thing. All the equipment that's involved, like, it's incredibly difficult. And so whenever you do get some research done, when you get it published, for someone to just go, that's bullcrap, I don't believe that. It's like, man, like, this isn't somebody spending a few days in the woods and making some sort of conclusion. Like, there were multiple people with a lot of organization and a lot of hands that made this possible. And so whenever you get your hands on something that's completely finished and presented, there was a whole lot that went into that you just have no idea. Like, it's so much more difficult than the average person would ever think would be possible. Mm-hmm. And so to just give it the boot and go, nah, whatever, I don't believe that, or it's hard. I can't wrap my head around that. In my mind, it's very, very dismissive, very, like, narrow-minded.
Mm-hmm. We've just gotten to the point now that it's not okay to disagree with somebody, but say, you may be right, but I don't like it. Now it's just, no, you're wrong. Mm-hmm. There's no way that's right. And you're like, okay, well, we spent years and hundreds of thousands of dollars to determine. We weren't trying to prove this was right or wrong. We were just trying to determine what was happening, and we're showing you and giving you the results of what we found out.
Yep, that's right.
So let me tell you how far people have carried this distrust in the government and research. I was at a processor yesterday, and they had a hunter that came in before I got there, and he was sharing with them the reason that deer are being so hard to kill this year, not because of acorns or bad weather. It's because the government has allowed farmers to spray a deterrent on their corn prior to harvest so that people wouldn't kill deer this year. Y'all, that is one of the most absurd things I've ever heard in my life. And this guy believed it. He believed it.
Hot take.
Yeah. Look, the sad fact is a research biologist with, regardless his experience, but most of this stuff is put out with people with decades of deer research or corn research or whatever it may be, decades of experience in their particular field. Yet the guy's going to discount that because of his profession, because he doesn't trust the government or scientific community anymore. But he's going to believe somebody off the street that's got and look, we're one of them, that's got a podcast or that's got an outlet to put out an article or a post about why he doesn't believe this. That guy's going to take that for truth versus, the professional that spent a lot of time developing the results on this research or finding out what they are. It's just mind-boggling. And look, all you've got to do is really do some research on marketing campaigns and from, I don't know when we started with mass communication, with TV and radio, but from the onset of that, psyops or psychological, profiles were developed for the public to figure out how to get them to believe things. I mean, Taylor, you know that more than anybody with your background. But these people that are building ad campaigns and spending millions, they don't put these out without doing research. You just don't know it.
Yep. No, that's right. And I mean, to your point, what you were saying earlier, it's like when you have, like, let's take that project that was concluded at the Faith Ranch that was 15 years long. Like, imagine telling someone, I devoted 15 years of my life. I organized this project. I got the funding. I was able to get people that were willing to help me do this, like physical, man hours, labor, and conduct this research, take in all the data, and then put it together in a way that I can present it to people and they can understand it. And for them to go, yeah, that's garbage. It's like, well, I mean, I spent 15 years of my life doing this. Like, it's not, you know what I'm saying? Like, how arrogant does it sound to just go, yeah, whatever, I don't buy it. Okay, you don't have to, I mean, we can have a difference of opinion or something, but these guys, like you said, they're not necessarily trying to prove a point one way or another. It's like, I have a general hypothesis of how I think this is going to shake out, but we're going to do the research and we'll see what our findings are. Maybe we were proven right, maybe not.
Well, I would challenge people and challenge even us to come up with other professions that there is so much distrust of the scientific community. You've got pharmaceutical and government, and I think you can lump deer right there in the top 30. I don't think there's any more distrust. I mean, look, I don't see it in the cattle industry or veterinary medicine. It's not like we're huge, but I definitely am in that. I don't see it very much in the agricultural industries. If it's got to do with human health concerns, that's generally where you're running into it. Herbicides, you see a lot in that. And some of our agriculture that's grown for human consumption. But aside of those, I think deer is right up there in the top handful. And that's just mind-boggling to me.
Faux show.
To me, it shows an astounding amount of just pure distrust. I don't want to say that the overall public is not intelligent enough to figure it out. I think they are, but I think we've just gone so far down this path that people are not using their brains and logic to think things through.
Yeah. Well,
This with CWD, I generally don't take a side. CWD is not the end of the world. The sky's not falling, but it is a problem that we're going to have to contend with the rest of our careers and the rest of our lives.
Mhm.
What the end result's going to be, nobody knows. We don't have a crystal ball. But just, some of these folks that are out there just outright saying, well, it's been here forever. Well, let's reach out there and say it's been there forever. How do you know? There's only one entity out there that knows if it's been here forever, and that's God. We don't know.
Right.
Okay.
Well, I know y'all have probably seen this clip floating around on Meat Eaters podcast, but Ranella is talking about that, and he's like, "Look, anybody who says I don't give a rip about CWD, I don't care, I don't want to hear none of that crap." It's like, okay, if that's you, I'm gonna take a burger that has been pulled from a deer that is 100% positive. They have CWD. They've tested positive for it. And I'm going to take this burger and I'm going to form it up and I'm going to cook it up to like medium rare. And if you say, I don't give a rip about CWD, okay, eat this burger. If you're willing to take a bite, then I'll listen to whatever you have to say. But if you're not willing to eat that burger, then shut up. You know what I mean?
Like, along those lines, has there been a direct link of chronic wasting disease into humans that we know about? No, but there have been direct links of similar diseases in squirrels that have affected humans. Mad cow disease was first said not to affect humans, and then it killed a couple hundred people in Europe.
Yep.
So has it been linked to human infection? No. Could it be tomorrow? Absolutely. And I'm not going to take the chance of feeding that to my children and my family, knowing that could even be a possibility of an outcome. Yeah. It's just not worth it.
The people that stand on that line and are willing to do that has gotten past the point of using logic. That is pure emotion.
Yeah. Yep.
They've gotten themselves so emotionally worked up about the subject that they can't use logic.
Yeah.
I mean, if you walked out here and said, man, you go out there and you've got X% chance to die if you walk in that bank over there today, but not tomorrow, but today, you've got X% chance of dying there. You go wait and go tomorrow.
Right.
Most sane people would.
Yeah. We've just lost logic.
Depends on how broke you are, I guess. Might need some money.
Is it worth it?
Yep.
Yeah. It's mind-boggling to me. And here's the problem. I don't know that we'll ever go back.
I don't think we will.
Nah, probably not. I mean,
and certain agencies have made steps to get back, and I'm gonna give them props, and I'm sure none of them listen. But what Pierce is doing over in Mississippi with his, and look, I'm not being derogatory, but his constant barrage on social media of good scientific data, man, that's turning the tide of an agency that for years and years ago was by their constituents wasn't loved. Okay. They made some changes, and over the past, in my career, they have definitely, as far as the public opinion goes from the folks I know, they are definitely more supported than what they were. We are going through that in Alabama now, where the state agency is just absolutely hated. There's not one reason for that. There's several reasons for that. But part of it is we're in the middle of this, hate the government, distrust the government, distrust the professionals. And most of it is unfounded, and most folks don't know the details behind decisions that were made, and they're not ever going to know, and that's part of it. I mean, the public entity works different.
Yep.
No doubt.
I hope we go back, though. I hope people start trusting our agency again. We've got good people.
Yeah. Yeah, which I know we kind of got off on a tangent there, but talking about that, um, but I guess kind of circling back and kind of putting a bow on this December lull, the deer movement, nocturnal movement, all this sort of stuff. Um, I guess to kind of wrap things up, would you say that there is this myth? Would you define it as a myth that's busted, it's confirmed, or is it plausible? Is there some element of truth in there somewhere?
I'd say it's plausible.
Yeah.
I
It's
agree.
plausible, but I think it has more to do with hunter attitudes and unwillingness to shift their behavior than anything else. I mean, deer react to human pressure, and as hunters, we have to react when they react. It's a game of adaptation. If you're going to be successful in the woods, you have to adapt.
Yeah, I mean, if you a lot of people refer, at least in our business, as at the tripod or the triangle or the stool or whatever of wildlife management. The biggest problem, the hardest thing to manage is not the wildlife, it's not the habitat, it's the people. And people have gotten so set in their opinions that somebody out here on social media agrees with me, I must be right. And if animals are going to adapt and you don't, you're the loser in the situation.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. No, I forgot to do shout outs. I don't know if y'all had any or not for before we get off of here for I know we've seen some kids over Youth Weekend put some deer down, and I know y'all may know some of them or whatever. I didn't know if you guys had anybody you wanted to shout out before we get
Well,
off.
I've got one big one, and just RL Foster, my business partner in wildlife consulting services. What was it? I think it was late October last year. He was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and everybody knows kind of what that means. But a year later, he is now cancer free and getting back in the swing of working.
Praise the Lord.
Praise the Lord, man. That's I don't know, man. I remember when all of us sort of found that out, and to say that was a gut punch for everybody, all of us. I mean, certainly for him, but to kind of see where he's come from there health wise is miraculous. I mean, there's no other way
That's
to
crazy.
really explain that, but praise the Lord.
Yeah. But and I'll put another one out there. Just I guess ask for prayers for this guy. I know you know him, Taylor. Matt probably don't, but another friend of ours, a hunting buddy, real estate agent here in town, Chuck Cranford, is going through colon cancer right now.
I didn't know that, man. Gosh, I did not know that.
He had I forget what the surgery's called, but he had the a portion of his colon removed. He's back at work, but about to start chemo. So.
Hey, he's a bad man with a shotgun. I know that. He can shoot.
Look, y'all, he's a bad man with anything that you can shoot.
That's true.
I've never been around anybody that was that naturally gifted with stuff like that. He, I think it was in a 1 year period that he started shooting some traditional archery with RL, just going around.
Yep.
And I don't know how many different entities there are out there that have traditional competition. But whatever it was, within, I think it was under a 2 year period. I think it was around a year of picking up traditional archery. He won the title. Within 2 years, I know.
Yeah, that's wild, dude.
Of picking up a recurve and just going out and strapping people.
Traditional archery.
When it comes to shooting stuff, I've never been around anybody any more talented.
Yep, that's crazy. That is crazy. I will give a shout out. This is, by the way, this is not a sponsor of our podcast. It's not a sponsor for me personally or anything like that. But I want to give a shout out to Magnus Broadheads. They advertise a lifetime warranty on their broadheads, and those are just the ones I happen to have shot the last couple of years. And I shot a couple does and shot that bobcat, and just kind of, I won't say mangled, but definitely chattered up the edges of broadheads. And one of them had hit a rock and was pretty bent. So I just reached out to them and said, hey, this is what's going on. I don't know if this is covered under the warranty or not, whatever. Long story short, they said, we don't care. We don't want you to send those broadheads back. We don't, just fill out our warranty form. We're sending you new broadheads. So, look, again, I pay for them like everybody else does, but they have a no questions asked warranty. If you tear a broadhead up, you can send them a picture of it, fill out their form, and they will send you another one. And that's pretty.
There's nothing like a company that stands behind their product and has a good warranty. Isn't that right, Brock?
Hey, let me tell you something. That's where I was going. If that's what we're going to do, shout outs to good companies. I had a very good experience with Vortex over the last week. Tuesday afternoon, I was going to go hunting behind the house, and I tripped and fell. I didn't trip. I slipped. There's a difference in a trip and a slip, and I slipped on some wet steps walking off my porch and likely broke my tailbone. It's still very, very, very painful. Here we are over a week later. But yeah, I had a few injuries to my body, and after further inspection on my equipment,
and his pride,
my pride was terribly damaged. And hunting over the last week's been awful. Sitting in a shooting house with a donut cushion, laying down half the time, and it's been pretty rough. And dragging deer, golly, that's awful. But anyway, I called, or I sent Vortex an email and got a very quick response and sent my scope off Monday. So should be getting a new one here pretty soon. But yeah, they have a pretty much no questions asked. I mean, they do want you to explain what happened. I guess they keep up with that, but they're like, hey, send it on and we'll handle it. So
yep, that's
great,
awesome.
Great company. Yep.
Can't beat that, man. Well, and as always, we'll shout out our sponsors. We've got Vitalize, Tutland, First South, Farm Credit, Tethered, Dart and Archery, Black Eagle Arrows, which Matt has been putting to the test this year.
Let me tell y'all, look, y'all know me. I don't just use equipment because somebody tells me to. And I was hesitant on the Dart and Archery gear, but I'm sold. I will probably shoot darting forever.
Man, I'm tell you what, it is nice to be able to, I've had very limited, I think 5 different times I've been able to hunt so far, 5 or 6. And, it's just nice to be able to go out there and know that your stuff's going to perform and know that there's not going to be any issues. And I had a streak going with one arrow. I'd killed 3 animals with the same arrow, and on the 3rd animal, it ended up snapping off just over my insert. So, but it's just, consistency and performance is what you want out of stuff like that. And,
yeah, see, I shoot expandable broadheads, so I need a lot of energy pushing that thing. Mm-hmm. And those small diameter, heavy arrows that they manufacture, they are the ticket, man. I think I've killed, gosh, since I've had a dart and bow, I've released 22 arrows on deer. That has resulted in 20 recoveries, and the 2 that I did not recover survived. They were not fatal hits anyway. Mm-hmm. So out of 20 fatal hits, I got pass-throughs on every one of them, except a couple that I shot in the spine. Mm-hmm. And that's included some very heavy bucks too. So,
yeah, no doubt. Same here. I, of course, took all the Black Eagle and darting equipment to South Texas, and made short work of deer and heavies and a pig out there. It's hard to beat them, man. I'm just telling you. If you haven't checked them out, you need to. Tuning features that are built in, all that kind of stuff. But and then obviously, I don't know if
I hadn't had that kind of luck.
Well, you
have to go.
Up.
Y'all kept me behind the camera in Texas. And
whose fault was that?
Y'all.
You volunteered. Look, this is so. When I shot my first javelina in Texas,
I was voluntold.
No, Jeremy says, go ahead and shoot your second javelina. I'll get one later. So,
You ain't got to tell Brock twice.
Don't tell me to release the trigger finger because I will.
Yeah, that's right. No doubt.
Yeah, well, I've walked by mine hanging up at the house and just kind of rubbed the riser a couple of times and told them I'd see them next year.
Yeah, I miss you.
Yeah, I realized how bad a shape my shoulder's still in this weekend. Y'all know I'm in way deeper than I need to be into guns and shooting and all that kind of stuff. And I got out and wanted to, get back to shooting my pistol. And let me tell you something: the old left hand can't do it.
Yep, still.
I can't even get out, in front and support at this point. So Brock, when I come deer hunting, you're gonna have to tote my rifle for me.
I'll do my best. I got you.
You might have to push me up in the shooting house.
Needs the fully guided experience. Do everything to pull the triggers for you. That's funny. Well, guys, we appreciate you listening. We've got some really cool stuff going to roll out. Hopefully, what we're looking at right now is mid-January. We really wanted to try to have this thing ready in mid-October, and it just wasn't. We wanted to make sure we had it right before we presented it to you guys, so you get the best experience possible. But just rest assured, whenever we hit go and this thing goes live, I think you guys will find some tremendous value in what we're trying to do. So just stick with us, bear with us. And I know some of you guys have asked about merch. We get a request for that every now and then. We're working on that as well. That will probably be available more sooner rather than later. We'll do some pre-orders and that sort of thing. But thank you so much for supporting us. Please, if you haven't done so already, like, share, tell your buddies, subscribe, all the things. If you haven't left us a review too, that would be really, really beneficial for us. We would really appreciate it. Jump on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, leave us a review. And preferably a good one. If you don't leave us a bad one. If you do, just we'll try to talk you into doing something else. But we appreciate you guys, and we will see you on the next one.
Peace out.
Out.